are back with the Song of Saya or Saya no Uta. A little bit of a different setup. I moved my office into my craft room, or what's going to be my craft room. So blue wall here. Sorry, so blue wall behind me. Also, I'm trying something a little different with my webcams. Give me a heads up if you hate it, love it, whatever you want to do. First off, let me put my phone on silent finally. Alright, so now we are going to go ahead and hit upload. I really hope this is the right one. Alright, I bit the bullet and tried to take the train, but the rush hour crowds were so bad that I had to get off halfway and walk. I'm running pretty late. Is Saya worried? I hope she's not mad. Yeah, well, she's eating people bits. When I enter the yard, I realize that the front door has been left wide open. Oh god, the noise. Light from the living room is seeping into the hallway, and I hear what sounds like someone smacking their lips. There's also a tantalizing fragrance in the air. Oh, he's gonna become a cannibal. Is it Saya? I consider calling out to her, but decide to enter in silence instead. Something smells strange, though not unpleasant. The aroma is quite soothing, in fact. It reminds me of Saya's hair. That's... At first, I'm surprised by what I see in the living room. The floor is covered in what looks to be some kind of grass, probably the source of the herb-like smell, and there are fruit or vegetable-like balls varying size scattered everywhere.
Saya.
Saya turns around, her eyes wide with surprise. She then looks sheepishly like a child caught in some
Naniを食べてるんだい?
これは
So flustered that I suddenly feel bad for sneaking up on her. I don't care. Remembering that she has never eaten in front of me before, I realize that she must be quite embarrassed.
一ついいかな?
You're gonna eat people bits. That's going to be people bits. I scoop up the closest fruit-bearing thing and pop it into my mouth, ignoring Saya's attempt to wave me off. It has a soft texture, soft and pliable, like a peach or a pear. When I bite into it with my back teeth, a succulent juice fills my mouth, combined with a sharp, strong fragrance. It's unlike anything I've ever tasted.
何か味付けとか調理してあるのかこれ?
調理ってほどのことはさばいてからちょっと溶かして食べやすくしただけでほとんど生なんだけど。
I pick up a different lump, this one consisting of fruity flesh around a hard core. Tearing a chunk off in my mouth, I find that it has a similar taste to the last one. Oh my god, it's so gross! Oh.
ねえ、大丈夫？それって。
僕でも食べられる味だ。っていうよりうまいよ、これ。
そうなの？
At first, Saya looks dumbstruck, then she bursts out laughing.
そうなんだ。Fuminoriもこういうのが好きだったんだ。なんだ、あれこれ工夫して頑張ってた私がバカみたい。
さやっていつもこういうものを食べてたのか。
こんな大物は久しぶりだけどね。近所の公園とかで取ってくれるやつ。
There's an impressive nature preserve not too far away from here. I've never heard about fruits like this growing there, but, well, of course, they only look like fruits to me. They're really something else. Yeah, they're people!
ごめんね。一番美味しいところは、さっきさやが全部食べちゃった。
いいよ、また今度で。でもこれで、明日から一緒に食事ができるね。
I'm disturbed. Saya really seems really happy. I'm happy too, of course. Eating with someone is much more fun than eating alone, and it makes the food taste better too.
まだまだいっぱいあるし、食べきれない分は冷やせば 2,3 日は大丈夫だよ。ちょっと味は落ちるんだけどね。
じゃあ、早めに片付けておこうか。
Very disturbing! On so many levels. Sealing the small fruits in Tupperware and large ones in pots and bowls, Saya and I store the remaining food in the refrigerator. Thinking of tomorrow's dinner fills me with anticipation. I feel that, little by little, I'm starting to regain the joy of living. Saya will guide me. With her, I can live on. I'm disturbed. True Scary Stories Hospital Edition. Chapter 4, The Monster in the Hospital. A medical student relates his shocking experiences. Will you believe him or not? Strange things started happening at the hospital around the end of last spring. It began with patients waking up in the middle of the night, screaming. They all spoke of terrifying nightmares, and many of them had to be sedated. Some patients even transferred to the other hospitals because of it. The weird thing was that they'd all had exactly the same dream. A dream about some horribly disgusting monster staring down at them from their bedside. Yeah, that'd be Saya. But the really strange stuff started happening after that. There used to be a lot of stray cats around campus looking for scraps from the students. One day, the cats suddenly disappeared, and it wasn't that they stopped coming. It was more like they'd vanished from the area entirely. And then people stopped walking their dogs around. According to rumors, the dogs were refusing to go anywhere near the school. Eventually, things started going missing in the hospital. Organs, to be precise. Transplant organs kept disappearing from storage. People came close to losing their jobs over it, and it wasn't just 2 or 3 times that it happened. They tried to keep it from the students, but we heard it was a lot worse than that. People started saying that there was something living in the hospital. Well, there was. The janitors would find strange messes that could only have been made in the middle of the night. Traces of something that had crawled down the hallway, or weird stains caused by something dripping through the ceiling. The late shift nurses talked about hearing strange noises on the same nights that patients woke screaming. There's one last story, one that you could never mention in the hospital. One day, the obstetrics department went crazy. They said that a newborn had disappeared in the night. Oh my god. She ate the baby. If that were true, the police would have come and it would have been all over the news, but they said the big shots managed to make it all go away. It's just a rumor, of course. These strange incidents suddenly stopped toward the end of summer. Yeah, when Saya moved out. Now there are almost no patients complaining of nightmares, and the cats have started coming back to campus. But still, what happened to the hospital last summer? Even now, just thinking about it gives me the creeps. Yeah, me too. Who was that?
Damn it.
Yeah, that sounds dirty to me. This is the 3rd day in a row that they haven't been able to get in touch with Omi. Omi was the girl who died last part. There's no sign that she returned to her apartment, and even her family doesn't know anything. Her parents have already filed a missing persons report. They're not gonna find her.
まあ
She's
あいつのことだからな。
Lane,
何事もなかったみたいにひょっこり顔出しそうな気もするんだが。
だと
gloomy.
いいけど。
She's worried about Omi, of course, but the incident with Fuminori 3 days ago must still be weighing on her as well. Yo hasn't seen Fuminori since then, and Fuminori hasn't made any effort to approach her or Koji. 4 people used to meet in this cafeteria between classes, but now there are only 2.
ねえ、トノくん、もう一度考えてみようよ。どこかオウミちゃんの行きそうな場所に心当たりない？
いや、一通りは確かめたしな。
It's a lie, of course. Koji knows where Omi planned to go that evening, but he doesn't want to bring Fuminori up in front of Yo. Their awkward silence is mercifully broken by the bells signaling the start of the next period.
じゃあ
I am
俺
being a
行くわ。
egg. Well, I've got to go. Right in the back of my head is where I'm getting a headache. Unless Koji is mistaken, Yo is supposed to have class next period too, but she just sits there staring off into space. Unable to come up with anything to say, he leaves the cafeteria reluctantly. Both Omi's disappearance and Yo's depression worry Koji, and both problems lead back to the exact same place.
海のりは一体。
When Omi went missing, the first thing he did was question Fuminori. After all, the last time he'd seen her was just before she stormed off to give Fuminori a piece of her mind. Fuminori responded with an unequivocal denial and acted like he hadn't the slightest idea why Omi would have gone to see him. Perhaps that was only natural, as he was unaware that Omi and Koji had witnessed him reduce Yo to tears. Did Omi even make it to Fuminori's house? She had been riding a wave of emotion when she'd left and might have calmed down and changed her mind halfway there. Or perhaps she ran into trouble on the way. Well, she ran into trouble when she got there. Koji concluded, or more accurately, convinced himself that one of these possibilities was the truth, subconsciously denying the one remaining possibility, that Fuminori was lying, that he had met Omi, and was involved in her disappearance. When questioned by the police, Koji told the truth about Omi's destination, only up to the train station, maintaining that he had no idea where she planned to go after that. He wanted to cooperate with the search, of course, but Omi couldn't have made it to Fuminori's house. Fuminori said so himself, didn't he? In that case, he told the police everything they needed to know. Not wanting to get the still fragile Fuminori involved, he forced himself to accept this flimsy logic. But the conflict is built up inside him without his notice, leaving unanswered suspicion to fester in his mind. Koji is deep in thought, paying no attention to his surroundings, but perhaps that was what allows him to catch sight of his friends back through the crowd of milling students. That's base.
Fuminori?
At first, Koji assumes that he's headed to the lecture hall, but it soon appears that he is instead going home. Strange, medical students have required courses in the afternoon. Though he isn't initially surprised, Koji's hesitation lasts for only a second. He follows his friend, taking care to stay far enough behind that he won't be noticed. Oh, there he is! Fuminori wasn't going home, as became obvious when he boarded a train headed in the opposite direction. Koji's next guess was that he was going to see his doctor at the T University Hospital, but Fuminori went straight through the closest station.
どこに向かってる?
That is an excellent question. At first, Koji felt ashamed for trailing his friend like this, but his conscience fell silent as Fuminori's actions grew more mysterious. The stranger it gets, the closer Koji feels to discovering the truth behind Fuminori's sudden transformation. Any knowledge would be welcome, no matter how slight. Even Koji is beginning to think there must be more behind Fuminori's change than the accident alone. He wants a more satisfying answer, one that will help him decide whether Fuminori can still be trusted. Fuminori gets off at a small station at a nondescript suburb in Tokyo. Koji follows, trying not to lose sight of him and the other disembarking passengers. The area is quite desolate, with only a small bookstore, a convenience store, and a market in front of the train station. It's easy for Koji to keep Fuminori in view. This neighborhood was carved out of the Fuji foothills, and here and there remain steep inclines and wooded areas that escape assimilation. Koji is amazed that such a quiet place exists less than an hour out of central Tokyo. That'd be where I'd want to visit. Fuminori seems to know these streets. He moves quickly and purposefully through the suburban community, his eyes fixed straight ahead. Before long, Fuminori reaches a house. Without ringing the bell or even knocking, he opens the door and vanishes inside, leaving Koji to wonder how Fuminori could treat the house as his home. After waiting to see if Fuminori comes back, Koji approaches the gate and checks the nameplate. Ogai, it reads. Koji has never heard of anyone by that name among Fuminori's acquaintances. Next, his attention is drawn to the thick wad of leaflets sticking out of the mail slot. This, coupled with the general dilapidated feel of the place, suggests that it's been abandoned for some time. A small playground about 2 blocks away provides an adequate vantage point from which to watch the front of the Ogai home. Fortunately, it does not appear to be the sort of house that has a rear exit. Koji settles down on a bench to begin his stakeout. I should have brought more smokes. 1 hour passes and then another, but there remains no sign of movement around the Ogai residence. Soon twilight settles upon the neighborhood. After Koji's 1 pack of cigarettes runs out, the stakeout becomes a battle against mounting impatience. He kills time by redialing Omi on his cell and sending her short text messages, but his efforts are futile as he knew they would be. When the sky begins to turn deep blue and the streetlights come on, Fuminori finally emerges from the house and heads back towards the station with the same hurried stride. After some brief consideration, Koji decides that right now, investigating the house is more important than tailing Fuminori. That probably saved your life, my dude. He rings the doorbell just to make sure. After receiving the expected silence in response, he checks to make sure no one is watching and turns the doorknob. The door is not locked. This must be where the doctor had lived. The moment he enters the house, stale air, thick with mold and dust, fills Koji's nostrils. It's the unmistakable smell of a house that has long lain untouched. There's also a faint hint of something else in the air, something reminiscent of damp sewers and fetid cisterns. Flipping the light switch does nothing. The power must be cut off. Koji uses his cigarette lighter to illuminate the immediate area. In the thick dust covering the floor, he sees several brand new trails of footprints that could only have been made by his shoes, Fuminori's. Made by shoes, Fuminori's. Koji decides to follow suit and dispense with curiosity. He enters with his shoes on. The lighter's flickering flame pushes back the deathly silence and gloom of the house. Koji is surprised to see evidence of life remaining. Everything from the furniture to tableware and appliances, nothing seems to be missing. The thickness of the dust suggests that the house has been empty for several months, which means that the owner must have left with little more than the clothes on his back. Could have gone on a long vacation. The calendar in the den is still turned to April. Empty and silent, yet still exhibiting signs of life that has once lived there. The house reminded Koji of a passenger ship entombed at the bottom of the sea. In the graveyard-like quiet, a sinister thought suddenly enters his mind. No one's living here, but that doesn't have to mean the owner left. Maybe he was murdered, and his rotting corpse is right under Koji's feet. He finds himself wanting a stronger light. A flashlight in his hand would make him feel much better. Koji follows Fuminori foot steps to the second floor where he begins to catch the scent of paper in the stale air. It is the smell of old books, instantly recognizable to anyone who has worked in an antique bookstore or a library. The first room on the second floor turns out to be a study, towering shelves packed with such a vast number of books that Koji fears for the stability of the floor. As a medical student himself, he is able to discern at a glance that this study belongs to a medical professional and a high-level one at that. Judging by the content of the books, a smorgasbord of technical volumes far beyond a simple student's understanding, the owner's interests lie more with medical research than with the clinical practice. Fuminori must have spent most of his time here. The scattered dust suggests that he was searching for something, and the contents of the desk drawers are in obvious disarray. A small pile of books stacked to the side table catches his eye. Being next to the desk, they must have been the most frequently read. Their nature could shed some light on the character of the person who worked here. Koji frowns as he examines the 3 books. Those aren't scientific texts like the rest, but old, leather-bound Western tomes like the sort you would find in a rare bookstore. The titles are meaningless to him. French? Spanish? Appears to concern semiotics. But another thing that I can't read is some kind of treatise on divination. And then there's another manuscript, which looks like some sort of picture book. When he pages through it, he finds the text utterly incomprehensible. Maybe some kind of cipher. Whatever they are, they clearly have nothing to do with medicine, refuting Koji's earlier guess that this old guy was a doctor. Looking down, Koji suddenly notices the glint of something black and metallic underneath the chair. A pocket-sized flashlight quite out of place among all these dusty books. Fuminori must have brought it in. Okay, now we have a flashlight. With relief, Koji exchanges his lighter for the flashlight. Its tiny body emits a powerful white beam that casts away the darkness. His courage restored, he decides to explore the rest of the house. Koji notices something strange, something that was not visible in the lighter's weak flame. The slime. Dark, oily stains are everywhere. The stains are especially thick around the doorknobs and stair banisters, like someone grasped them with hands wrapped in greasy cloth. Alright, so I am going to pause here real quick because I have food in the oven that might be done. Alright. Here we go. Looking closer, he places where slime was splashed low on the walls, almost as if a wet mop ran violently across the floor. Could Ogai have made these marks? If so, how? Koji begins to feel sick as he imagines a man shambling through the house with slime dripping from his body. Finding the bedroom next to the study, Koji checks the closet on a hunch. He discovers 2 empty suitcases, not what one would leave behind when going on a long vacation. A sudden chill runs through him. Whoever was living here is still somewhere inside the house. Suppressing the urge to flee, Koji goes back downstairs to check the first floor. If he finds a corpse, he'll have to call the police right away. He might get away with trespassing if he reports it first. But if they find the body later, it'll be awfully hard to explain his fingerprints all over the house. Ah, you're not wrong. The flashlight reveals the den to be covered in even more slime than the rest of the house. The sofa looks as though it was dredged from the bottom of a swamp. In the kitchen, Koji takes one look at the sink and decides not to get any closer. He doesn't want any more fuel for his imagination. No thank you. He reaches the door to the bathroom. A common sense from TV dramas flashes through his head. A body with slit wrists floating in a bathtub full of water. It wasn't there And wasn't there a movie where a hitman disposes of his victims in a bathtub filled with lye? I have no idea. Koji braces himself for the worst and opens the door slowly, then shines a light into the ceramic bathtub that appears from the darkness like a white ghost. Bones. A mountain of bones. Black with dry flesh and blood. Koji puts a hand against the wall to steady himself as his legs threaten to buckle. Something is wrong, he realizes as he tries to desperately get his thoughts in order. The bones are too small, and there are too many of them. They aren't human. Bad music! After taking several deep breaths to calm himself, Koji enters the bathroom and examines the tub. The bones are piled atop one another like fallen leaves. They appear to be from small animals, perhaps cats or dogs. Even so, the quantity is mind-boggling. How many bodies would it take to produce this many bones? The bones have all been separated from one another, so it doesn't look like bodies were just thrown into the tub and left to rot. Each bone is covered with deep grooves, marks left by teeth biting through flesh. No. Koji's sanity won't let him consider the possibility that a human could have done this. The owner of this house must have kept some sort of carnivorous animal as a pet, giving it the bones of small animals to eat and dispose of the remains in the bathtub. But why not dispose of the leftovers properly? They could have just been thrown out with the garbage, or was there something keeping him from leaving the house? The relief Koji felt when he realized that the bones weren't human is once again under attack. In the first place, what the hell was Fuminori doing here? Oh!
Koji.
Oh. Koji whirls around, the light revealing Fuminori's expression.
不法侵入だぞ、Koji。
お前だって同じだろうが。
Fuminori pushes past Koji and looks into the bathtub. He doesn't even flinch at the
僕
sight
は
of
こ
the
の家
bones.
の人と知り合いなんだ。頼まれて探し物をしに来ただけさ。
知り合いって、いつから？一体何者なんだ？
Koji doesn't want to believe that this old, friendly Fuminori could have been in contact with denizens of this
いずれお
house.
前にも紹介するよ。僕の恩人とも言える人だから。
おい、Fuminori！
Koji runs after Fuminori. His heart is finally beating
お前
normally
まさ
again.
か近頃様子がおかしいのはその知り合いっていうやつのせいなんじゃ。
Standing in the entrance, Fuminori glares coldly at Koji over his shoulder. The utter lack of emotion in his eyes gives Koji pause.
僕の後をつけてきたんだね、Koji。
Koji swallows. What can
そう
he
いうのは
say?
迷惑だ。二度とやらないでもらいたい。
ああ。
Kinda being a dick. Fuminori walks away without another word, leaving Koji alone in the entrance. Up until this very moment, concern for his friend was still at the forefront of his mind. Now, however, that concern is swiftly giving way to a growing sense of dread. Does the Fuminori he knew no longer exist? Was the person who just stared Koji down an imposter wearing Fuminori's skin? Koji has begun to believe that it might be so. It's very possible. Alright, I am gonna go ahead and save here. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this part here. A lot of stuff happened. We got some Koji time. We found where the doctor and Saya had lived. Found out that she used to just eat a whole bunch of cats and dogs. Now she's eating people bits. Fun times. And now Fuminori is also eating the people bits. Oh, good grief. Alright. So don't forget to come back next time to see what happens with this group of people. And I will see you next time. Bye, guys.